Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. In today's episode, we're going to be comparing two fantastic mid-range adventure bikes. And the first one is Honda's 2016 NC700X, and this is the DCT ABS model. The next bike here is Kawasaki's 2009 Versys 650. Kawasaki's Versys 650 and Honda's NC700 go head-to-head on the sales floor, and they both represent a mid-range bike that is designed to do really any type of riding and do it well. These bikes, you can do a little bit of like fire roads, some very mild, off pavement work, but really you want to stick to like a gravel road. Neither one is a trail bike by any stretch. The Honda is really designed as a utilitarian motorcycle. And so it's got, the features like the automatic transmission that makes it super easy to ride. It has one of the features is a very large storage bin that's actually located where the gas tank is on a normal bike. So it has a tremendous amount of in-bike storage without taking up any more space than the Kawasaki with no storage. Now you can add luggage to the Kawasaki, but it does make it bulkier, a little bit wider and more cumbersome, and the Honda actually comes with that standard. So that's a tremendously nice feature for a bike that you're going to use as daily transportation. Another feature that the Honda has that the Kawasaki doesn't have, it has the automatic transmission. And really, in the mid-size adventure bikes, it's in a class by itself. There's no other adventure bike in the mid-size adventure bike that has an automatic. For newer riders or riders who just don't feel like shifting all the time, the automatic is a really nice feature. And again, it's really appreciated if you're sitting in traffic, if you're doing commuting on a regular basis, if you just want to get on the bike and get where you're going with a minimal of thought, kind of taken up by shifting and the clutch work and things like that, it's a great option to have. The Honda also features anti-lock brakes, and that's really nice. It's a great feature, especially in the rain or lower traction conditions. The Honda's braking power is somewhat limited by the fact that they only use one front rotor instead of, like on the Kawasaki, they have the two. So it doesn't have the ultimate stopping power that the Kawasaki has, but it does have that added safety feature of the ABS. The Honda's dash has a gear indicator. It also, you can put the transmission in manual mode, you can put it in drive mode, or you can put it in sport mode. And all of those are very easy to use, and the dash will tell you which mode it's in and also what gear you're in at any given time. In contrast, the Kawasaki's dash, it has all of the things that the Honda has except for the gear indicator. And I would say, that is something I would appreciate on the Kawasaki, and I think some of the later models of it have the gear indicator on there. Both of these displays are nice. I would say the instrumentation is pretty comprehensive on both of them. So what are they like to ride? What's, on paper, these bikes are somewhat similar. They've got, the Honda has a little bit bigger engine. They're both in the same size category. They're similar weight-wise, they're similar seating position-wise. What are they like out on the road? Are they, you would think, with the specs, looking at the spec sheet, that they would be somewhat similar. We'll check them out, see what they're like to ride, see what their character is, and then we'll come back and wrap this up. Let's ride.
I am once again on Honda's 2016 NC700X, and I am riding it back to back. We're doing a back-to-back comparison with Kawasaki's Versys, and it's a 2009 Versys, so it's a little bit older one, but I think it gives you the general feel of the two bikes. This is a white on black display instead of a kind of a black on white display, and in these lighting conditions it's not bad, but I know in direct sunlight sometimes this becomes very, very difficult to see. But the things I like about this dash, it does have the fuel gauge. It has everything that the Versys has. And it also has a gear indicator, which is nice. It also has a drive mode transmission indicator. So right now it's got the D, it's in drive. I can put it in sport mode if I want, and we'll go ahead and put it in sport mode. Just do that on the fly there. This road's scratchy with some gravel, so I'm going to be careful. I definitely sit down more in this bike than I do on the Versys. Yeah, no threat of a wheelie here. And my confidence level on this bike, on these roads in these conditions, I've got to be just, I feel like I have to be more gentle. The nice thing is, if I'm a newer rider, I don't have to worry about what gear to select. It does have the automatic, which they don't make an automatic Versys. And this bike is stable, it's nice. I'm doing, 55 miles an hour right now, and it's smooth, easy. I think with the automatic, one of the things you do lose a little bit is the control of leaving it in a gear and selecting the proper gear for a corner. The bike does a fantastic job of doing that for you. But it's not the same for an experienced rider. It's just not the same. You don't have the directness. So if you do want to be playful and loft the front wheel or something like that, I imagine that you could hit kind of a rise fast enough to get the front wheel off the ground on this bike, but you just don't have that level of throttle control and then also just kind of selecting a gear and maintaining that. Although, I guess I could put it in manual mode and toggle it over to manual mode. But we'll try that. All right. So I'm going to come to a stop. I don't think I have to, but... So I am in manual mode, and it selects 1. And I'm selecting the gears with my left hand. There's a switch in the back where my thumb is, and I can downshift with that, and then upshift with the other, with my forefinger. Yeah, the shifts are smooth, downshifts are nice. Just holding the gear. Yeah, unfortunately, just as soon as the engine's going to get good, feels like it's going to come on power, it runs out of revs. Wants to push a little bit wider on the corner exit. Yeah, 6,000 RPM is not a lot of revs to play with. It'll still get up to speed. It never feels as peppy. I definitely feel like I'm riding even though the weight is technically lower in this bike, I'm feeling like I'm riding a much heavier bike with less output, power output, and certainly a longer wheelbase. It's all very stable, very refined, very relaxed. you could still certainly hustle this on a back road. And, you know, even if you leave it in manual, I'm sorry, even if you leave it in automatic, it'll do that fine. So even on the fly, you can go from automatic to manual if you want to. I just did that. That's nice. I would say the controls for the automatic slash, you know, you can use it in manual mode, but the controls for that are very intuitive, very easy. You can do it on the fly, so it's not something you can kind of mess up while you're going, or it locks you out. And that also allows you, because you can do either of those, switch from manual to automatic or back again, and then also between sport mode and drive mode. What that allows you to do is, as your driving conditions change, you don't have to pull the bike over and stop. You can just deal with that. Yeah, the Honda is very relaxing to drive. Again, very, very refined, easy to ride. It just does not, you know, I don't know. For me, I think the Versys could actually, and this is really, it sounds silly saying it, because it's like on paper it's a 650, it's not super high output, but I think the Versys could get me into trouble just with the with how sporty and capable, and just the level of control and the ability to just pop the front wheel up anytime you want. I'm still smiling after riding the Versys. I don't mind this bike at all, but it doesn't have, for me, what appeals to me tremendously about this Honda. It's very efficient, very refined. I absolutely love the storage compartment in the tank. I think that every bike should be designed with that. If I had to, you know, describe this Honda, I'd say it's drama-free. It does everything very well. Well controlled, easy to ride, easy to use. The way the transmission is really smart, and I like all of those things. It's not a bad place to be. I'm riding Kawasaki's Versys 650 back to back with Honda's NC700X. This Versys is a 2009, the Honda is a 2016, but they made both of these models for quite a while, and I think these are representative of what the bikes are like to ride. The Kawasaki Versys, it doesn't have as many of the technical features as the Honda. The Honda is really a kind of a tour de force technology-wise. It has that wonderful dual clutch transmission, the DCT. It also has ABS brakes. And in comparison, this Kawasaki is pretty basic as far as what's on it. Functionally, with the display, the only thing the Kawasaki is missing in comparison would be a gear indicator. It simply does not have one. And that's really something that would kind of make the instrumentation on this bike complete. But otherwise, it's really a nice, it certainly has everything you need. One of the main things you'll notice when you hop on this bike after the Honda is you have a lot more RPM to play with. The Honda redlines at 7,000 RPM. This thing doesn't redline till 10.5, and it just has a whole lot more motor. And another thing is the confidence that I have on this bike is phenomenal. Woo! Oh yeah. Well, that's another thing too. The Honda, it would be a chore to lift the front end, and this bike, it is not a chore, it's a joy, and it comes up, man, any little rise, if you want to, you can just have it in the right gear and it'll bring the front end right up. I'm not someone to do wheelies on a regular basis, but this bike, seriously, it's so easy and so fun. Yeah, just the confidence that I have on this machine riding it is amazing. I love my vintage bikes, but I'll tell you what, this bike is just a hoot to ride. Brakes are better than the Honda. It has the dual discs up front, so you know, really in every performance category, this has just so much better handling, so much better engine performance, so much better brakes. I know the Honda has ABS, and that's just a really nice function, but I do prefer in most situations, I'd just rather have the absolute stopping power over, you know, the safety of the ABS brakes. I'm not necessarily a wheelie guy, but this is one of those bikes that I tend to lift the front wheel more riding a Versys than a lot of bikes. Another wheel hop there, and there, and just a little one there. So it is entertaining, and if I had a little bit more time on this, I'm sure it could be really, really fun. When it does come up, it's very controllable. The engine power isn't, like I say, it's not dominating, and so I've never lifted a wheel, period, on that little stretch right there, and this is one of those few bikes that I just feel comfortable, you know, just popping the front wheel up every now and then. I've ridden other bikes that are hooligan bikes, but this one just does it. I can really have a lot of fun and be a little bit of a hooligan, but it's at low speed. It's not really a super fast bike. Another little hop there. Yeah, comfort-wise, I would probably give the Kawasaki the nod as well. The seating material and the angle of the seat are a little bit more comfortable than the Honda. I could ride this bike for several hours without being uncomfortable, and honestly, it's the kind of bike that I really just want to get out and explore some back roads, go ride up in the mountains. And I know really in whatever setting I choose, this bike is just going to be an absolute blast.
All right. Well, I'm actually kind of surprised by this one. I am shocked at how different these bikes feel back to back and from the saddle. And the Kawasaki just, it is a little hooligan. It's really more of a hypermotard, maybe a baby hypermotard, or, you know, it's the big end of the supermotard type of motorcycle, but it's compact. It wants to lift the front wheel really at any provocation. It comes up very easily and controllably, and really everything it does when you're on the road is very precise, very controllable, very fun. If you don't want to ride this as a hooligan, it will adapt to you, and it's never going to come up and lift the front wheel when you're not expecting it to. It will do it if you're deliberate and want it to, but it's a very easy to ride motorcycle, very compliant, extremely confidence inspiring, and really it's a whole lot of fun. I mean, when I ride these, I smile from ear to ear. It makes me want to get out and ride. It makes me want to go explore. It makes me want to go longer distances. It will do really all types of riding, and it'll do it well. It's a little bit buzzy, you know, the fairing vibrates at certain RPMs. It's not as refined feeling as the Honda, but I really, you know, personally, I don't care. I like riding those, and as much as I like the vintage bikes, I will gladly have one of these in my garage long term. Just a fantastic machine. And that brings us to the Honda. It is a nice machine. I like the styling on it. I think the styling is fantastic. It's supremely refined, very smooth. Technologically, it really is a masterpiece. It has the DCT transmission. It has the analog brakes. You know, it's got smart engineering in the way that it's got luggage and yet doesn't take up any more space than a normal motorcycle. But for all of that, it's a little bit on the pedestrian side. You know, the engine revs low. It doesn't have, you know, a whole lot of horsepower. It's torquey. It's nice. You could still, you know, it picks up and it will do everything you need it to for road use. It will do all of those things. It will do them well. It's a capable bike. It's an efficient bike. And I like those things about it, but it does, for me personally, it does not have that X factor. And that X factor being, you know, what's going to get me up early on a Saturday morning and, you know, get me out on two wheels. And if I had to pick between this and the Kawasaki, and the Kawasaki's going to do it every time, and this Honda, it's a great bike to commute on. It's the best commuter bike probably ever designed. But for my money, I think I would pick the Versys. I completely get it if you disagree with my verdict here. The Honda, you know, again, it's in a class by itself, offering that automatic transmission. So it's really, you know, that if that's a factor for you, if you want an automatic motorcycle, well, there's no competition here. The Honda is it. It's your choice. I hope this helps. I hope this comparison gives you an idea of what each of these bikes is actually like to ride. I also hope it gives you enough information to make an informed decision. If you're looking in the used bike market and you're thinking about a Versys or you're thinking about an NC700, this video series is about helping you make an informed decision and the right decision and get the bike that is right for you. I hope you found this video informative and entertaining, and until next time, ride safe.